for this presentation on NBA accreditation criteria for Tier 2 institutions. Now, in this today's presentation, we will be looking at NBA and its philosophy in brief, and what are the different accreditation criterias and what are their weightages. Then, one by one, we will try to explore each criteria. There are 10 different criterias, and lastly, along with HOD sir, we will discuss and we will decide certain guidelines about what will be the methodology, what will be the strategy, and what will be the mechanism to accomplish all our individual criteria requirements. And at the end, after this presentation, we will come to know, we will jot down what will be the expectations from individual criterion coordinators. The expected outcome of this presentation is that we should be able to understand what is this NBA program and what are the different terminologies that are associated with NBA program. And we should have a brief outline. We should be able to outline what are the different criterions by names which are having weightages in NBA. And after we be able to get an overview of each criteria, the in general idea about each criteria and its requirements, in general requirements. And after this we will be in a position, after this presentation we should be in a position to explore our individual criterias, and as discussed their expectations and what will be the processes that we will define at our department in order to accomplish all these requirements. So, National Board of Accreditation, it was formed actually in 1994 by AICT body, but it became an autonomous body, independent, in year 2010. But after April 2013, it has become completely independent, both administratively as well as financially. So, this is the top body appointed for accrediting higher education institutes, and it not only caters to engineering and technology, but management, architecture, pharmacy, and hospitality. Industry, hospitality, like this hotel management colleges, etc. These are also included for accreditation. And we are under the category of Tier 2 institutions, where we are under private and self-financing colleges. Tier 1 is for autonomous institutes. Now, one thing to understand is that NBA accreditates the technical programs and not the institution. Like NAC or ARI rankings, these are given for the institution as a whole. But the NBA is going to be a department level accredited. So the technical program which is run at the department, for example, our BTech course, so that that is eligible for accreditation under NBA. So it is not proper to tell that entire department is accredited. The program in the department is actually accredited, because if a department is running two programs like UG and PG, and we have got NBA of UG program, then we cannot tell department as a whole is accredited, but the program run by this department, UG program run by the department, is accredited. And this is the general requirement, like two batches have to be passed out, have to be graduated. That means at least 5 years UG program is running at the department. We need to submit a self assessment report. So SAR is the short form for this self assessment report, which will be uploaded online on the NBA portal. And in the due course of time there will be a 2 or 3 days on site visit to each of the department. Initially, accreditation of NBA, it was based on input process output methodology, or a model, wherein emphasis was made on the resources or facilities that are available at the department. But 2009 onwards, NBA has aligned its methodology for outcome based education. So this is the methodology which is followed internationally, and it actually gauges in terms of knowledge, skills, attitudes, and behaviors that are inculcated in the students when a student graduates from a program which is run at the department. So NBA is going to play a very he's going to lay a lot of emphasis on what are the methodologies that we are following at our department in order to attain these outcomes. So program outcomes which are defined by NBA are there for same for all the institutes or all the programs, but how we define our course outcomes, what are our program educational objectives, that and what is our vision and mission, that has to be blended with this program outcomes that we will be discussing in shortly. So this is the crux that NBA it believes in the educational policy which is measured by outcomes, not by the inputs. Because most of the institutions may have better facilities or resources, but they may not have the mechanisms or the processes. They may not have in place those processes which are required in order to convert those inputs which are there. Maybe the student who takes a admission into their degree program, and what are the expected outcomes from an engineering graduate. If they are not able to deliver those things, then it is not measurable or quantifiable. So that's why NBA believes in a philosophy of outcome based education. So and major emphasis is based on this outcome based education. As we have gone through the manual, these are the accreditation criterias in terms of weightages. Now, one thing we have to understand from this distribution is that even though here few of the criterion they might be having very less weightages or in terms of marks or very high marks, so that doesn't mean we can undermine the importance of each criteria, because each criteria is equally important. And as in the meeting, vice principal sir was also telling that if we do not focus on a certain criteria which is carrying less weightage of marks, then probably we may give a chance to the NBA visiting committee in order to point out the lacunas in that criteria. And they can tell that if you are not able to justify this criteria, then how you can justify the other criterias. So irrespective of how much weightage is given to each criteria, we have to equally focus on each and every criteria and deliver and get give proper justice to each criteria. Regarding the first criteria, vision, mission, and program educational objectives. Now, the program which we are talking about is our BTech program, which is run at our department. So the program term will be used for the BTech program electrical engineering, which we run at our department. Now, as the institute has its own vision, mission, and vision and mission, at our department also we need to have our specific vision and mission statements. So criteria one will look into this vision and mission formulations, and there are certain guidelines given in the manual uh, in order to how these vision and mission statements will be framed. And vision is actually a futuristic statement or a long term goal, but mission statements gives the ladder, like how we are going to achieve this vision. Now program educational objectives, these are very important from our department point of view, because we have to frame these PEOs at our department. Now, while framing these PEOs at our department, we need to take into account what are the various stakeholders of this program. Now, by stakeholders, we mean we need to take into account the opinions or their suggestions of the alumni, the graduating students, the parents, industry partners, or maybe our academic peers in other colleges who are running similar programs, may it be private or may it be government. So, the inputs from all these stakeholders is to be taken when we are framing the program educational objectives at our department. So these are certain guidelines which they have given while framing the PEOs. It basically focuses on the professional accomplishments which are expected in the graduates and in their early years of graduation. Like after graduation, where does the graduate stand in terms of professional accomplishments? That needs to be measured. Okay, and of course these POs have to be consistent consistent with the mission of the institute, because our mission will be our guiding lines, which will take us to the vision of the institute. So our POs should be aligned with the mission. And as I told, all the stakeholders also need to be taken into consideration while framing these POs. And the number of POs are manageable, should be manageable. Like we should not have so many of POs that we are not able to manage them. So they have given an example in the manual where they have defined three POs. It is for a civil engineering course. So for reference, it is being given, and everybody we can refer these PO statements. Uh, so these are the PEO statements. When we are talking about these statements, PEOs or maybe POs or COs, there has to be a lot of correlation amongst this. That will come into the next slide. What is expected that when we are able to uh, write our vision and mission and PO statements, so they are expecting the program that where we are publishing this and where this information is being disseminated, whether it has been percolated amongst our all students and faculties. Because when the NBA team will visit the department, it will cross verify or check each and every student also, whether the student knows what is the vision or mission of the department, or what are the PEOs that are decided by the department. So, and this not only statements are important, but we have to also describe the process, like how we have come to this, because that process will take into consideration all the local needs also, because we are somewhat from a rural background. And what are the needs of the society around us as an educational institute, so that also need to be taken. So this is the process which will be taken at the institutional level also, but our vision and mission and POs will also be inclined with the vision and mission of our institute. And the program will also demonstrate like how the PEOs are being aligned with the mission of the institute. Because as I told you, at the end they are going to measure all these attainments. When we are proposing certain PEOs, when there are POs, they are going to measure the attainments of all these things. At the end they are going to find out like what what you had proposed and how much you have achieved, and what was the mechanism that you had devised to achieve that things. Okay. So this process, so this criterion one, this was about briefly about the criterion one.
Naikodi sir.
Criterion, yes.
Naikodi sir, just I want to add it here that about this PEOs and POs,
Yes.
these are mentioned in our syllabus itself.
Okay.
There are 4 PEOs, program educational objectives. Those are mentioned in our syllabus itself in second year.
Yes.
And basically 11 POs are mentioned for electrical engineering syllabus. That means for program of electrical engineering.
Yes.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Actually, generally what happens is the AICT has given 12 attributes,
Yes.
graduate attributes, and those 12 graduate attributes are itself considered as the program outcomes for all engineering streamlines. Those are the guidelines.
That
Exactly.
sir, that is going to come in criteria too. I am going to discuss in detail about that thing in
No,
the
that is
next
there. But
criteria.
here what happens in our syllabus, only 11 are there. And the program outcomes of AICT and program outcomes mentioned in our syllabus, these are difference are there. So we need to focus on our outcome only, and PEOs are there only which are mentioned in the syllabus itself.
Okay.
You told that we need to define those, but it is already defined in the syllabus itself. That is what I just
Syllabus.
want to put it here.
Yes,
Yeah.
that may be defined, but I
Yeah.
will come to that criterion two discussion, wherein if required we may also need to frame our PEOs or modify them as per the gaps if we have identified at our department level. Because accepting it as it is will be the normal, but if we can identify the gaps and suggest some changes or modify some changes, and then inculcate or incorporate those changes in our curriculum, That is the expectation. So if we do this will be out of box, like this will be not the normal. So that I will be coming, and we will have that discussion also, like about as you said, there are 11 that are there in the curriculum, but
Yeah, yeah.
actually AICTs has proposed a 12. So that 12 POs are also that we are going to discuss, that will be
Okay,
coming
sir.
in the next slide.
Okay,
Okay.
okay.
So now the criteria 2, which is about the program curriculum, as Birada sir was just mentioning about this program curriculum. So this is the focus of the criterion 2, and this criterion is completely about the teaching learning process. And this is uh, this is actually the criteria which is associated with all of us, like whatever course we are teaching at our department. So here course means whatever, suppose I am teaching electromagnetic engineering, so that subject becomes my course. So that course, how I am making my course file, okay, and what courses I have taught, and how what are the contents of my course file and everything. So this has to be associated with each and every faculty. So this is a very important, because it defines the total teaching learning process that we observe at our department. Now there are 12 POs that are being defined by AICT, and actually we can tell it by NBA, these 12 POs. And these are the in line with the graduate attributes which is defined by Washington Accord. Now what is the importance of this Washington Accord and these graduate attributes is that when we have accepted this Washington Accord, by as the NBA is a apex body, it has incorporated the Washington Accord in its NBA program. This means that a student who is graduated from an NBA accredited core program, he is at par with the international graduates also. So he is also having those attributes which are expected from an engineering graduate. So he is at par means I need to say that he will be employable at an international stage also. So that is the importance. So this and NBA has already incorporated that Washington Accord, and it is in line with the international accreditation program. So this is the importance. So these 12 POs are very much important, and these 12 POs are going to be our guiding lights in order to frame our teaching learning process. And these are the 12 statements that have been defined by NBA. Now this is just a crux of those 12 statements. The detailed statements are being given in the manual. So by engineering knowledge, actually what do we mean by engineering knowledge, what is expected in engineering knowledge, that is that detailed statement is being given in the manual. And each of it, like problem analysis, design, okay, and how the complex problems are being solved, or what are the investigations carried out, is there any model usage of tools that is available, and everything. Like it also adheres to ethics also, not only having the technical knowledge, but whether that ethical things are being inculcated in those graduates. How is the individual, how is the performance of that graduate in terms of in individual capacity as well as in the team, okay, that is also being going to be gauged. His communication skills, okay, his project management related to how is his teamwork, and whether after graduation does he carries the learning aspect, like whether this will be a continued education for life. So that are those 12 attributes which are being mentioned in the manual. Now coming to the program specific outcomes, which they have defined as PSOs. So such PSOs have not been there in NAC, but these since this being a department level accreditation, so this is program specific. So specialized area of discipline. So when we are talking about PSOs, they have given certain guidelines that we can have 2 to 4 PSOs if required at the department, and these PSOs are beyond POs. So already we have the guiding POs in front of us. So if our curriculum is not able to achieve all these POs, okay, then we should have certain PSOs, that is program specific outcomes. As we receive the inputs from our peers, like we will have our institute level guidelines, we will have our STS level guidelines. So all these guidelines will be there, in order which will help us in order to decide these PSOs. Okay, so I told you that this is just a crux, this is just what you can tell, an overview of what is there in each of the criteria. And each individual criteria coordinator, it is in his capacity has to explore the detailed contents of each criteria. Okay, so regarding the PSOs, this was regarding the PSOs. Program should describe the process. As I was telling, just defining the PSOs, POs, and POs is not enough. We have to describe the processes also. So here comes the documentation, how periodically we have documented everything, and we should be able to derive it also. Like based on our program curriculum, which is defined by the university, how these have been mapped. Okay, and that machine learning based education, so they are going to mirror in terms of program outcomes, curriculum to this POs through exam. That is most important. And when we unify this thing, then we can integrate. So what has been said about the structure of it, which comprises everything as I told you about the course file. Okay, so which course we are teaching, what are the contents of that course, what is the tutorial part, what is the practical part, how much credits are there. There will be certain groupings based on the components like core, elective, basic sciences, engineering sciences, humanities, and projects. So our course falls into which group? That grouping also will be there. And extent of compliance, as I was telling you, that when we are having our POs in front of us and PSOs in front of us, then what is the process that we have identified in order to comply with these things? So only defining is not important, but the documental proof or the demonstration, we can call it as a case study, like how we are able to demonstrate or justify that whatever we have defined, how we are able to map it through our process. And as I was just telling you about the curriculum gaps, it is possible that the university curriculum may have certain gaps. So whether that those gaps have been identified for the attainment of these POs or PSOs, that also needs to be taken into consideration. And what are the steps taken? Like, one important thing is about the content beyond syllabus. Now, if my particular course is not able to meet all the needs that are specified by the industry, then whether I am adding some content which is beyond the syllabus specified by the university into my course, it may be in terms of a simple it may be in terms of a simple practical also, which is not defined by the curriculum, but I am taking that as a part of my delivery of my course. So that will come under content beyond syllabus. And whether if you have taken any topic which has been missed out by the framing by the framing committee, like whenever we have the syllabus discussion and when we are framing the syllabus, if certain point has been left out which was important, but if as a teacher I feel that this point should have been there in the my course, so if I take that course as a single bit and if I add it into my lecture, then that can also become content beyond syllabus. So the documentation of each and everything, like whatever I have delivered as a content beyond syllabus, that will also come in my course file. So this is a major emphasis which is laid down by NBA with regards to course. And uh, when the program is delivering its contents, what is the quality of teaching and the learning process? Whether adhering to the academic calendar, we have defined our academic calendar. So whether our curriculum, whether our all the activities throughout the semester or throughout the year is in line with the academic calendar or not. Okay. And basically the pedagogical initiatives, whether we are following at in our program. It may be collaborative learning. Real time examples are being given to the students in order to understand those concepts better. What is the laboratory experience in terms of quality? Okay, whether we are doing some lively experiments, real time experiments, and we have identified certain bright students, so whether we are giving the treatment to those bright students in order to encourage them to again go at a higher level, and if I have identified certain weak students, are we assisting those students to grow from weak to bright. Okay, so these all documentation maybe, or these all initiatives, they have to be documented into this criteria. Okay, and one more thing, when we are talking about the curriculum, so important thing is about the semester test. So what is the quality of the semester test when we are talking about the internal semester examination, ISE examination? So what is the quality of the semester test, quality of the question paper? Okay, and whether we are following the Bloom's taxonomy for designing our this question papers. Okay, maybe this may come into this. And when we are framing our assignments and evaluations, so whether we are framing our assignments and evaluations or tutorials based on the gaps that we have identified, or based on the CO outcomes that we are going to target, that also is going to play an important role. And of course, and last, about the quality of the projects. The project work is going to be a very important part of the teaching learning process. The projects actually, documentation will be there about the projects, like how do we define the problem statements, how we allot the students, how we guides to the students. Okay, how do we continuously monitor? Actually, we have all these mechanisms in place. We have the project diaries, we have regular presentation meetings, but the documentation of each and everything. Okay, demonstration, like when the committee will visit the campus, it is also expected that we demonstrate the working prototypes of certain projects, which are relevant projects. Okay, so that is going to create a lot of impression. Now when we talk about these projects, then comes the industry institute interaction also. So whether we are having any collaboration with the industries, whether we have a industry sponsored laboratory at our department, whether we are attached to any laboratory, either industry, for the lab work. Okay, so that also is having certain weightage. Or whether we are inviting certain expert faculties from industry as guest lectures, in order to deliver some their expertise to our students. And as we are already having the internship and training programs, so the documentation of all this internship, the summer training also is a part of this criteria. So this is a huge wide criteria. So all these parameters are going to be there in this criteria, and the details about this are given in the SAR. Okay, so when we will explore the annexures for the individual criteria, we'll come to know what are their expectations in terms of tabular form to be filled in order to justify this criteria. The third criteria is talks about the course outcomes and program outcomes. It relates actually the course outcomes and program outcomes. So as we have just seen, what are the 12 program outcomes defined by NBA. Now similar to that, there needs to be the course outcomes. As I told you, that whatever subject I am teaching, or we are teaching, that is our course. So we have to define course outcomes. We are having discussion with HOD sir, and we sir has told that there will be 6 course outcomes, normally 5 to 6 course outcomes that they are expecting for each course. So each course, so when I am teaching a particular course, so I have to define the course outcomes of that course. Okay, so POs are already there, but I have to define my own COs. And there has to be a COPO mapping. So there is going to be this program articulation matrix. So there is going to be a COPO mapping, COPO matrix, and I have to show how I am able to achieve that course outcome of my subject. And what I have to also to show what are the assessment tools that I have used in order to assess the impact of my course delivery, whether I have delivered the course, but whether it has percolated into all the students. So how I'm going to assess it? Maybe so maybe in terms of quiz, or maybe in terms of certain test, or maybe in terms of certain case study, or maybe in terms of a particular design problem which may be given. So these are the various assessment tools that each individual teacher can follow. And whether if it is a practical oriented subject, whether how the laboratory and project work are contributing towards the attainment of COs and POs. So that also needs to be illustrated. See, this all documentation is going to come be a part of course file. So whether when we are doing our course file, it is our utmost responsibility that when we are doing our individual course file, we are aware of all these factors that are going to be the requirement for this criteria. So, and we have to show the attainments also, like in terms of percentages, like if, how much a particular PO I have attained in terms of percentage, whether 70% of the PO I have attained or 80%, that should be quantifiable. Okay. And there are actually two methods, direct and indirect methods for quantifying these attainments. And direct methods are related are through direct methods we are directly able to measure these performance indicators. Like I told you that quiz is there, or maybe uh, a test is there. Okay, so this type of MCQ question bank, or whatever may be that test, so these are actually measurable parameters. Like I can have the marks of individual student, and then I can measure the performance of each and every student. Suppose I found that if we can measure the attainments through assessment tools, then we can have certain values of those attainments. So these are the direct methods for measuring those attainments. But there are certain things, for example, if I want to assess the writing performance, or how is the oral communication of the student, or how is the critical thinking of that student. Now this cannot be directly measured through direct method, so I have to have a rubric mechanism. Okay, so what are the rubrics, how it can be defined in order to, so rubrics is an indirect method of measuring the performances, performance indicators. Okay, so these rubrics and their implementation in our course, that is going to be a part of this criteria. Okay, and when we are talking about these things, so this all needs to be documented in our course file. Okay, so these all direct methods, indirect methods. So normally it happens that when we are telling that my course is achieving 70% of the program outcomes, okay, through direct method, then through indirect method, whether I am reaching that same level or not. Okay, so this is also cross verified. So we call it as a closing of the loop. Okay, so when we have done certain assessment through direct method, whether the same type of attainment has also been achieved through indirect method or not. And normally indirect method, there can be exit surveys also, there can be alumni surveys also. Okay, there can be taken those survey forms may be filled up by the alumni also. So this total documentation and this total mechanism is being defined into this criteria. So COPO mapping and COPO criteria. Okay, so this criteria is also very important, because as we have discussed, key all is going to be measured in terms of outcomes. So whether it be course outcomes, or whether it be program outcomes, or whether it be program specific outcomes, so all these outcomes are going to be measured in terms of attainments. And those attainments are normally in terms of percentages, that when we will be slowly documenting all the things, we will be having these values in terms of percentages. Okay, so this criteria deals with the COPO mapping, their matrices, their attainments, and the methods which are used for attaining these maybe course outcomes or program outcomes or PSOs. Now this assessment has to be provided for 2 or 3 assessment years, so that guidelines will come from HOD sir or our institute coordinators, that how much documentation we need to do. Okay, so maybe for each and every course that we have taught till date, okay, we need to have the reverse engineering for mapping all the COPOs and calculating the attainments of each course. Okay, and because these are very important towards the contribution of the overall process of the program. Okay, now criteria for not much is given about the criteria for in the this overview, but in terms of marks, you can see it is 150 marks. Okay, only these many points are mentioned. But this criteria, if it is having 150 marks, then uh, definitely it is also going to have a lot of documentation also. Okay, and maybe like in terms of academic performance of the students, they are talking about the 3 academic years. Okay, and what was the sanction intake, what was the corresponding admission, okay, what is the success rate, how many students entered into the first year, and how many of those students without a year drop left the department. Okay, so that success rate, maybe their academic performances, university ranks, where our students stand in the university. Okay, what types of placements were there for those students, how many of the students have gone for higher studies. Okay, if there are there any professional activities that have been carried out at the department. Okay, so the documentation, so all these student related performances, okay, will be documented into this criteria. um, so this criteria is all about the student related performances. Next criteria about the faculty information and contribution. Just like we had the student information, now the faculty information. Okay, now this criteria is also having highest mark, that is 200 marks. Okay, so the guidelines for all this are available in the manual. They have specifically defined what are the requirements for each individual faculty, and how they are going to measure the contributions of individual faculty. Okay, so to what how is the mechanism at the department, like how many faculties are engaged in professional development, curriculum development, how are we mentoring our students. We have a TG proctor system in place. Okay, whether we are involved in some administrative work at the department level or at the institute level. Okay, what type of training and placement activities are going on. Okay, and how we are having the interaction with industries, maybe in terms of industrial visits, uh, and so on. Okay, and they are going to measure, they have their mechanisms to measure this faculty contributions as well as the faculty information. But major emphasis as per NBA is also on the research and development, like how much of our faculty are engaged in R&D activities. This is the most important, because they, from NBA perspective, inculcating an R&D culture into the students is most important, because this are, if research and development culture is inculcated into the students, then the skills and the habits that are there for lifelong learning is possible. Okay, so major emphasis is laid on this R&D activities, and how much of the R&D work is going on at the department. Maybe also how much sponsored research we are able to fetch, or we have been able to fetch, and if whether any faculty is engaged in doing certain research activity, that things are going to be measured. And when we talk about in this faculty information, so certain things like we already meet that ratio. Okay, what is the cadre ratio that will be taken care by the institute. Okay, what are the qualifications of individual faculties, how much retention rate as an expert in. Yes, so whether there are innovations.
आता जे क्रायटेरिया सांगितलं ना त्याच्यामध्ये मी थोडं जर आता हे करतोय. सरांनी जसं सांगितलं की फॅकल्टीचं जे आहे ना, फॅकल्टी इन्फॉर्मेशन अँड कॉन्ट्रिब्युशन, टोटल हा पार्ट आहे 200 मार्क्सचा. सगळ्यात जास्त मार्क हे फॅकल्टी इन्फॉर्मेशन अँड कॉन्ट्रिब्युशनला आहे. त्यात स्टुडंट फॅकल्टी रेशो 20 मार्क आहेत. त्यानंतर मार्क वाईज जर बघितलं तर त्यानंतर तुमचं फॅकल्टी कॅडर प्रोपोर्शन आहे 20 मार्क्स. देन फॅकल्टी क्वालिफिकेशन 25 मार्क्स आहेत. त्यानंतर आहे फॅकल्टी रिटेन्शन, त्याला 25 मार्क्स.
by faculty in teaching and learning process. I do Here the innovations are not expected in terms of projects, but in the teaching methodology, whether certain innovative whether innovative techniques used by the faculty. There was a इनोव्हेशन बद्दल त्यांचं एक्सपेक्टेशन आहे की आपण टीचिंग लर्निंग मेथोडॉलॉजी मध्ये काय इनोव्हेटिव्ह थिंग्स इन्कॉर्पोरेट केलेलं आहे. जसं मी म्हणत होतो की विप्रोचा मिशन 10X प्रोग्राम होता. तर मिशन 10X प्रोग्राम मध्ये त्यांनी बरेचसे, जसं आपण ब्लूम्स टेक्सॉनॉमी म्हणतो, किंवा आपलं जे स्टेज डेअरिंग आपले जे हे आहेत प्रेझेंटेशन स्किल्स वगैरे, ते कसे इम्प्रूव्ह करायचे
Yes.
आणि स्टुडंट्स इन्व्हॉल्वमेंट कसं इन्क्रीज करायचं ऍक्टिव्हिटीज घेऊन. तर ते त्या that type of innovations whether we are using in our teaching and learning. Okay, just we cannot say that we are using, but whether we are documenting those things in our files. Okay, so
Sir,
that is
sir,
also
sir, sir.
expected in innovations. Yes.
I'll put there. Contribution to teaching and learning are activities that contribute to the improvement of student learning. ये innovative में आता है. This is what the innovations by faculty in teaching learning process, right? And in these activities, there is a basically use of ICT, then instruction delivery, then instruction methods, then assessment, evaluation, then inclusive of classroom to lead effective and efficient and engaging instructions. How you are conducting your lectures, how effectively you are delivering your content, and how you are using the making the use of all the ICT tools and the modern trends, or you may be showing them the animations, videos, and you are putting your efforts to learn them. That is what the innovations which are there in teaching learning process. Am I right, sir?
That was the same thing I was talking about.
Yes, sir.
Innovations by the faculty in teaching and
In
learning
teaching learning.
means, yeah, Vision 10X program, which was done by Wipro. If I don't
Yes.
know whether you have attended it or not, but that Mission 10X program, it was talking. It has a detail. It was a detailed program about the innovation in teaching methodologies for the faculties. Actually, they have trained all the faculties for innovative teaching methodologies, and as sir has outlined all these things, like whether we are using animations in our teachings, or whether we are using a role play technique in our teaching, or whether some concept is there, whether we have devised a role play in order to all the students to understand that concept better. Okay, there are certain teaching methodologies like games are there. Okay, so whether that games have been used, whether that games are being used in my lecture in order to along with the learning, the students are able to understand these concepts in a playful environment. Okay, so these all innovations which are being conducted by the faculty in teaching, okay, they can also be documented. Okay, they can be documented in our course files also. And actually I can tell you that when the NBA was carried out at our department, in SAE Kondwa, we had made innovative cell, and there it was a live demonstration of how these innovative techniques are conducted in the class. So the committee was so much impressed about this demonstration, that was shown lively also how these innovative teaching methodologies can be used in the classroom. Okay, and I was talking about development activities. It is related with all the STTPs or workshops or the guest lectures or the programs or conferences that have been organized as well as attended by the faculties. Okay, and as I told, research was very important. So academic research, whether it is being carried out, whether we have got sponsored research, okay, whether we are able to fetch sponsorship for research. Okay, how much consultancy work is done by the faculty, whether we are able to do consultancy for the industry people. Okay, that is also going to be counted here. And the performance appraisal and development system, so this is a part of the institute, like how it is giving appraisals based on the performance of the faculty, or how it is motivating the faculty for or encouraging the faculty in terms of appraisals. Okay, and at our department, whether we have the visiting or adjunct or emeritus faculty, okay, visiting our department, and contributing our mental teaching learnings, that also comes under this faculty contributions. Okay, so criteria 5 faculty contributions, criteria 6 is about the facilities and technical support. Okay, 80 marks this criteria is having, so it will basically be documented for all the facilities that are available at our department level. Each and every classroom, how much classrooms are there as per the requirements. Okay, whether tutorial rooms are there, defined separate rooms. Okay, whether we have meeting rooms, whether we have girls common rooms. Okay, separate rooms like for ladies common room, boys common room. Okay, whether we have sufficient amount of seminar halls, whether we have conference halls, whether there are faculty rooms for the faculty. Okay, where is the faculty sitting in the department. Okay, and how is the laboratory arrangements. Okay, so these all facilities this criteria talks about. How much is the computing resources available at the department. Okay, so that is also calculated in terms of numbers. Okay, what are the equipments and tools that are available, what are the special equipments and facilities that are available at the department. Not only availability, whether it is being maintained, whether it is being calibrated, whether it is being upgraded. Okay, how much is the utilization, like whether we are having these all resources, but whether we have documented how much it has been utilized by the faculty and by their students, whether we are maintaining all that in our registers about these things. Okay, so that documentation is also a part of this criteria. And whether we have a qualified technical supporting staff, as we are talking about the lab assistant or a technical assistant, whether they are competent enough or qualified enough to have to be in the role of a supporting staff for laboratories and handling of all those equipments. So that is also being monitored or documented. And whether the staff which was a technical supporting staff, whether they have upgraded their skills or whether they have upgraded their qualifications and have been promoted in the department. Okay, so that type of thing is there, that can also be documented in this criteria. And normally, as I told you, it is talking about the equipments and tools. So what are their maintenances? How is the ambience of the laboratory? Whether we have put safety measures in place or not. Okay, whether we have, well, since it is our electrical department, so we are dealing with high voltages. Okay, so whether safety measures are in place or not. Okay, that also needs to be taken care of. Okay. Criteria 7, it is about the continuous improvement. As I told you that this is having 50 marks, but that doesn't mean that less emphasis is to be on this criteria. Actually, if you see, it is having 50 marks, but it is this criteria which is going to close the loop. So our loop has started from vision and mission and program education objectives and POs and PS.
Just I will put some focus on this facilities and technical support criteria 6. Basically, it is of 80 marks. Then in that, 30 marks are there for adequate and well-equipped laboratories with technical manpower. 30 marks are distributed to this particular point. And in this, we need to prepare for the data, like name of the laboratory, number of students per setup, that means batch size, the name of the important equipment in that particular laboratory, then weekly utilization of the status, all the courses for which this lab is equipped. That means weekly utilization we need to put there. The name of the technical staff, then designation and qualification of the technical staff. So this is the required information for that. Total 30 marks are there out of 80.
Criteria 7 I was talking about, it is regarding the continuous improvement. Though it is seems to be that it is having only 50 marks, but as I told you that it is going to be the closed loop. Like when we have started with our course outcomes, program outcomes, PSOs and POs, and we have defined the mechanism also, whether that closed loop has been achieved, which will give quality assurance to the program. Okay, so in terms of quality, whether we have closed the loop and we have, as per our definitions, whatever we had defined, whether we are able to achieve it and we are able to demonstrate it or not. Okay, so all the COs attainments, POs attainments, its analysis. Okay, its analysis will be documented as a part of continuous improvement. Okay, and as I told you that this will be for 2 or 3 assessment years. Okay, so for each year, okay, what was the PO attainment for the for particular year, then after that what is the PO attainment, next what is the PO attainment, whether there has been a gradual increase in the attainment levels. Okay, if this is there, then that is a positive sign. There is a there is a improvement in the attainments, okay, in the PO attainments, and that is what we have to also show in terms of continuous improvement. Okay, so it cannot be a static thing. Whether if I tell you that my attainment is 90% in the first year, and again the same, if 90% is consistent, then that is not expected. So gradual increase in that attainment and their documentation, like whether if your there is a gradual increase in your attainment, then how that you are able to achieve that attainment, okay, and how you have documented that, okay. So that is going to play a major role in this criteria. So the maintenance of all this is a part of this criteria. We should we have an academic audit system, okay. So this audit system will quantify how that improvement in the attainment has been done, okay. And we actually the things related the performance indicators related to placements, higher studies, entrepreneurship, okay. So these are going to quantify, these are going to justify our claims. If we are claiming that we are going to produce better engineers, then what is the outcome of that? Whether it has been placed in a very good company like MNC, or whether he has gone for a very good has been able to get admission into a very reputed university in India, or whether he has his own entrepreneurship venture, he has carried out his own entrepreneurship venture. So that thing is will be the supportive documentation which will show the continuous improvement, okay. And as I told you, the closing the loop, okay. So this criteria talks about this thing. So whoever is the departmental criteria coordinator, okay, he can explore everything about this criteria in the annexures, as Sister was mentioning just now, okay. So this was just an overview of each and every criteria that we are looking at, okay. Criteria 8 is about the first year academics, having only 50 marks, but here also this is the base or the starting point of our program, okay. So how much faculties were involved from the department for this first year, then what are their qualifications, okay, what is the first year academic performances of the students, okay. And the same thing, whether the course outcomes have been attained in the first year, program outcomes have been attained in the first year, or what are the actions that have been taken in order to measure these outcomes, or do the evaluation of these outcomes, okay. So this part is related to the first year academics, criteria 8, okay. Criteria 9 about the student support system. Now, in case of student support system, what are the mechanisms at our department level in order which will act as a supporting systems for the students? May it be mentoring, like we have a proctor system, student support system. In this student support system, I was talking about the mentoring and proctor system. We actually already have in place. Whether we are giving opportunity for the student to give the feedbacks, and what are the rewards or corrective measures that we are taking about this feedback, okay. And whether we are giving certain learning to the students beyond the syllabus. Just I was talking about the content beyond syllabus. Whether we have a career guidance system for the students, whether we are guiding the students for career selection, and training and placement activity, okay. Entrepreneurship activities, whether a student if a student wish to have entrepreneurship career, what is the ED cell doing for that, okay. And what is the platform for the student for co-curricular and extracurricular activities, okay. So the documentation of all these activities, maybe our ETUSA organization programs, or maybe at the college level programs, the documentation of all these co-curricular and extracurricular activities, whether it may be sports or whether it may be cultural, will be documented under this criteria, which will be a student support system criteria, okay. The last the criteria is about governance, institutional support. I'll not be talking much about this criteria, because this criteria will be taken care of at the institute level, okay. So at the institute level, what is the budget planning, how is the overall structure, overall infrastructure maintained in order to facilitate an environment for learning, okay. Then what is the administrative setup, okay, whether there is a grievance redressal mechanisms or not at the institute, okay. How much power is being delegated financially to the departments. Okay, whether there is being transparency in the operations of the management and the institute and the faculties. Okay, and what is the quality of library that's being provided. Okay, how much is the internet bandwidth. Actually, they also measure what is the internet bandwidth which is being provided. If you are claiming that we are providing 10 mbps of bandwidth, then they actually measure it, like whether it is really 10 mbps bandwidth that you are getting at your institute or anywhere in the campus. Okay, so these all things are related to institute, so that that will be taken care by our institute. Okay, now my presentation is over here.